Hey BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. And I have to say, this is my favorite sweatshirt that I have because it's so soft and I like that it says hello there. And it's just a very simple design, and I think I got it from Kohl's. And it's not too thick. I prefer the lots of thicker, bulkier sweatshirts. Although I do have my Ravenclaw one is a little bulkier. But I'm getting more into sweatshirts anyway. Like when I was a kid, I kind of stopped liking them for a while because of the bulkiness. But now that I've gotten older, I really like them. But anyway, I just wanted to say that because I just was thinking how comfortable this is now. I did not want to take it off last night, so I'm wearing it to bed. And I did not want to take it, and I did not want to take it off when going to work last week. I didn't want to change. But anyway, so I want to talk to you guys about something that I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to, and that is the aesthetic of books. Now, when I first joined, I didn't think I was that kind of person that would, spend money just because the cover is beautiful, and I'm still not that kind of person. Because, I just work in a grocery store, so I don't have a lot of money. I have to be careful with how much money I spend, although I'm not that careful. But since being part of BookTube, I have become more aware of the aesthetic of books, the physical appearance, and what books are appealing as far as looks. In the end, I still buy mass market paperbacks that the covers aren't that glamorous. I don't buy a lot of nice fancy editions, but I definitely understand the appeal of them, and I still, every so often, I will get them. So I wanted to show you my fancier, or at least not fancier, but editions that I really like the look of them. And then also I brought over some of my library books that kind of had that appeal. First, I've shown these before, but Barnes & Noble have these nice bind-ups that look like old-fashioned books that you would see like on a library shelf in the 1800s. I just fell in love with the look of those. I like the retro look. Retro as in like back in early 20th and 19th century look. Right here is a collection of Steinbeck's, I don't think it's short stories, short novels, right, and I did attempt to read one of them I got from the library, but not a lot was going on. It's basically about this town and the residents in this town and their everyday lives. That's Canary Row, and I did not like it. I didn't really care for the books. I ended up giving it back to the library. But, what I liked about this one is it's simple, but has this gold design on the book. And it goes onto the spine, too. And then it also has those deckled edges. I'm one of those people who does love deckled edges. Because, again, I like old-fashioned things that look old-fashioned. That look much older than they are. And it's like, has this, I don't know what this image is on the cover, but I just know I really like it. And this is probably my smallest one, so it's the easiest one to travel with. So I could travel with this one and bring bring a whole bunch of Steinbeck books with me. It does have Of Mice and Men in here, which is one I read, in either high school or middle school. And at the time I didn't like it, but I'm hoping that maybe if I read it again, I might like it better. I do remember the plot vaguely, but I like this. Now, what's interesting, I don't know if something because of something I did, because I've never really opened this before, or maybe they decided to add like some extra, but it looks like there's some stains on it. Like you can see on the edge of the pages, there's darker browns. I don't know if they made it like that on purpose. or 5, because I don't remember ever taking this and actually opening it up and looking at it. Although I did, no, I mean, I did once. But see, you can tell. So I don't know if that was done on purpose or maybe I spilled something on here. I don't remember. But it really looks old now, or at least it looks really used. And some of my other ones that I have are, oh, I forgot 2 more. I'll have to show you guys. Like, I have this Shakespeare collection. And then what's really cool is this is one of the ones that has like the gold embossed edges on the pages. I just love it. And I appreciate when these have those ribbon bookmarks. I don't know if I'll ever get around to reading any Shakespeare, because the only time I read Shakespeare is in school. And because it's very hard to understand it. I mean, even though it's written in English, it's still hard to comprehend it because it's, older English. Although compared to Beowulf, it's not that bad though. I mean, and I like on the spine, and like I said, I feel like that's how the style of what books were back then. Like all these little symbols on here, and then the gold and red aesthetic, and of course there's an image of Shakespeare on the cover. It's his face, like a mugshot, or not mugshot, that thing that actors, where they have a picture of themselves with their resume on the back of the picture. I can't remember what it's called. My dad, he did a little bit of professional acting for a while, not Hollywood stuff, but like commercials and stuff. And is a profile picture, or am I just thinking about Facebook? I think I'm just thinking about Facebook. I cannot remember what it's called. That's made me think of that. These are so big. And then, so, like I said, the Steinbeck one is the easiest one. The least heavy and easy travel with one. And here is my Jane Austen one. It says flowers on it. It's a lighter colors. Lots of blues. Much more feminine looking. And this one also has the gold embossed, just with the ribbon. Look, this one got a little dusty. This is, I think, yep, all 7 of her novels, and I've read at least. I've read 2 in using this. I didn't read Pride and Prejudice using this. Pride and Prejudice was actually my sister's copy that I had borrowed, and took a long time to give it back to her. It's very hard to read this though, especially when it's not you're not like a huge fan. Like, I like her work and I appreciate her work, and I will read it. I feel obligated. Like how people say Tolkien is like the must read for fantasy. If you don't read Tolkien, then how can you call yourself a fantasy fan, which I think is stupid. And I feel like for classics that are romance, I think this would be the equivalent to Tolkien for that genre. And I'm more willing to read this because despite the way she wrote, it's still a lot easier than reading an epic fantasy. As far like some of that's not modern, I should say, an epic fantasy from back in a classic epic fantasy, like an older book. Because our plots are very simple, easy to follow. It's the conversations. For me, it's more about the conversations. But I just love the look of this book as well. And let me show you some of my favorites out of this collection. So I didn't grab those. Thought I did. So I only grabbed 3. These are my favorite ones because, I mean, granted, I'm also a little biased to the authors, but this is, like, Frank L. Baum wrote a lot of books and novels. He wrote a whole series, and these are the first five novels. And what I really like, it still looks like the cover of the original cover, or at least the covers that they print on those mass market paperbacks with the cartoonish drawings. And you have these bright colors, and because, when you go to Oz, it's green, all green, so with the pages, instead of being gold embossed, they're green embossed with the green ribbon bookmark. And I love the bright yellow. I love the bright colors. Like, all the books in these collections are brightly colored. And the end pages are this green diamond design. And I think the next one is purple, like periwinkle, I want to say. And it has the original types of drawings. I definitely have a special place in my heart for Wizard of Oz. Because it's always been part of my life. Even though I read the original book, so late in life, it's always been very much a part of my existence, because my dad played the wizard in our community theater production of it. And of course, like most people, I had the movie as well. So it's kind of been a staple in my life. And it was really cool to read the original story for the first time I read it. Because there are differences in the... My dog is scratching! Really, do you have to be in here? At least it's not the one that has to get in the chair. Because Rascal likes to get in the chair with me. There are some differences in the original text compared to what's in the movie. Like, the two I remember most is always that Dorothy's slippers are actually silver, not red. But because when the movie came out, Technicolor, they just started using it in the film industry. So it was more convenient to make them really bright because silver wouldn't show up in Technicolor. So they decided to make them ruby slippers instead. And then there was one other thing that I actually forgot it. So one other thing. I do remember that it actually is not. I don't think it's an actual dream in the book. When Dorothy gets to Oz, I think she really physically went there, which kind of bothers me because it's like, why are you ruining it by making it? Oh, it was just a dream. It's not real, honey. I don't like it. I prefer the idea of what if a person really did go to a magical land. I prefer that over like, oh, it was just a dream. It almost bursts from your bubble when you find out that Dorothy was just dreaming the whole time and there's no real Oz or anything. So that was kind of a disappointment. But I don't think that was the thing I was gonna share. But anyway, this one is just really special. Like I said, there's more in this. There's, I think, 3 more. Which I should put that on my Amazon wish list. But I feel guilty because I have only read, like, I did start reading the next one, but I haven't read it. I haven't finished it, so I feel bad asking for the other ones because this is not cheap. I mean, these are usually $20-$30. I don't see the price. There was probably a price sticker on here somewhere. And the other one I really love is this one. Another one with gold embossed. This is my very dusty my Dickens collection, and some of these I've actually bought the physical mass market paperback copies because, again, these are hard to travel with, and you can't just read. It's hard to read them because they're so big and heavy. But this one also has the gold embossed pages, and I like how it has a London, the city of London, and I don't know what it's called when it does the way it's shown on here. And my favorite part is here on the back. It has one of the buildings is shaped like a book spine with the titles of all the stories that are in here. So the only one that I don't have a separate copy of, but I'm almost tempted to get one, is a Christmas Carol. But this is I borrowed Oliver Twist, and I'm glad I just borrowed it because it's not my favorite Dickens. And I bought A Tale of Two Cities years ago. I have David Copperfield. Like I said, A Christmas Carol is the only one I don't have a separate copy of it. And Great Expectations, which I just finished reading, and I absolutely loved it. Let's see, I think this is really cool. I wish I could figure out what this, with the way it looks and stuff. I wish I could figure out, because I think there's a term for that. I guess gold embossed the image, but I think that's so cool. And even if you're not a Dickens fan, you gotta admit that's pretty cool. So, I actually have a few more, like, I have, Edgar Allan Poe's collection, which that one also has a red and black aesthetic, and I have a, Anne Rice. They're over there. That's what I'm looking over there. I also have an Anne Rice collection, which is kind of a grayish, like a gray color with this, those, what are those? Black wired fences. Not wired, but, those, I can't remember. I'm currently reading the, History and Magic mentions this kind of fence I'm trying to think of. There's black iron fences. It has that kind of design look to it, and Sophie's asking to go out. I'll be right back. Just have to leave the door open. Okay, another book, one of my library books that has that kind of old-fashioned look to it I really like is this collection of Dickens short stories. And now, I don't know, see, this is all red, and I don't know if they did this on purpose, or it's just so old. But, yeah, I mean, it looks almost like it's a little moldy, even. But I like it when the pages are yellow, when they're like yellowish, because then, you know, it proves that's an old book. I mean, this one might actually literally be an old book. Unless they just did a really good job of making it look old. But this is Charles Dickens' short stories. I'm on Nobody's Story, which is really short apparently. Because I count and see how many pages so I can determine how much I should read, if I think I can read the whole thing in one sitting, or if I'm going to have to find a stopping point. That's what I usually check and see how many pages, or how many pages in a chapter. But yeah, unfortunately this is not mine. This is a library book. Hi, Sophie. But I like the look of it. And like I said, I'm guessing it might actually be a legit older book, just because of the way the look of it. This really cool red border around it. I think that's the word I was looking for. Border. That's one of the words I was looking for. So, unfortunately, that's not my copy. That's a library copy that I didn't buy from the library. Another thing one of the things I really love in books is when they have a symbol on it. Like, I don't like the. I'm again one of the people like most people who just does not like people on the cover. I mean, sometimes I'll make exceptions. Like, I mean, I'm not someone who goes and buys books just because of how the book looks, but I kind of like these covers. The James series. They I kind of like these covers with the where there's an actual person on the cover. I think that's in this case. I think it works. And then of course what's really the typography. That's one of the words I was looking for. Typography. I think is really cool. Like it's all bright. It kind of fits the aesthetic of the book, of the story. And then of course I like all the little bits of like things like it's not easy being green, being queen. Let's say green, being queen. Right here, and then there's sometimes historically gets it all wrong. History gets it all wrong because if someone wrote it like with a pen, like a gel pen or something, off with her head. Because unfortunately, Lady Jane Grey died after 9 days, or was killed 9 days after being queen for 9 days. Something along those lines. Like, it kind of reminds me of a teenage girl's, like, diary or something with these little notes and stuff. So that was one of the times I actually am cool with the whole using an actual person. Let me close my door. When I'm filming, I get self-conscious if people can hear me. But the problem is Sophie keeps asking to go in and out. Hopefully she won't for a while. Now the other thing I want to talk about is I like symbols on covers. I prefer. I mean, I think I lean towards more simple covers anyway. But I like how this one has like a symbol. I don't know. I haven't got to the point where I figure out what this means, but I'm guessing it's a crow. So I think I really like that. And I also really like how the title kind of glows. I think it's using like a paint that makes it look like it glows. The name so because this is basically a fantasy book where magic exists in and this is during the Napoleonic era. And there's these two magicians that the people in England realize that magic is real. And these two magicians, they are the only two left in existence. And one of them is currently part of high society because he's a magician. And then the other one, I'm guessing he's kind of a rebel. This guy, you can tell this is an old, not like super old, not like 1800s old, but it's been well read because you can tell by not by me, but like little things like this. And like I said, you can tell a book is well read, and again, I like that is when the pages are not crisp and white; they're kind of yellowish. You can tell it's an older book. Again, it's not that old though because it came out in the what's the year? What's the copyright date? 2004, so it's only a few years old. But I really like it. It's a simple cover, just the title with this bird on the cover, the title. I like how the typography is written, and I like how, and again, like I said, I like how it glows a little bit, so it's like magic. It's magic. This is another book that has another series that has symbols on each cover. I definitely can understand why. I always can never. I need to But Samantha, I'm just gonna call her the Book Wizard. That's not her whole name. But I still do not know how to pronounce the first part. It's in reference to Outlander. It's what they call what the characters call Claire when she ends up traveling back in time to the Scottish Highlands during the Jacobite Rebellion. It's kind of a little nickname they gave her, but I cannot figure out how to pronounce it. So I'll just call her Samantha the Book Wizard. She's someone who vocalizes how much it bothers her when publishers constantly change the covers. Like, they constantly, like the Liber Bray series, the Diviners, they keep constantly changing the covers, which I agree with her. It's like ridiculous how many times they've changed those covers. I mean, so far they've stuck to the ones that they have, I think. But it's like, why did you have to do this in the first place? I mean, the first cover for the first book was great. It was amazing. Why didn't you feel like you need to change it? Did you decide, we don't like this cover anymore, we're going to change it? Or did some people, like a focus group or someone, tell you, you need to change this cover, we don't like it? I mean, if there are focus groups. I guess there's not really focus groups with books. But, like a test audience. Because it's not like a TV show or a movie. Well, I guess you kind of do have a test audience, because like when someone first publishes a book, maybe they send it out, or at least finish the final product before they decide to send it to a publisher. Maybe they send it out to other people like friends and a beta reader and stuff like that. So I guess that in a way is the test audience. But then I don't know if they have test audiences for like the way a book looks when it's finally published. But I agree with her. I don't understand why they keep changing these covers. I mean, I understand and I don't understand, especially when it's a perfectly beautiful cover. And we're not dumb. We don't need to make the cover obvious on what the book is about. You can go a simple route and make it a mystery. I mean, that's what makes them even more fun, especially if it's like a fantasy or supernatural, like a paranormal story. It makes it more fun when you don't understand the cover until you start reading the book. Was that it? Was that why they changed the covers? But I am totally with Samantha on this. Samantha the Book Wizard, that it was ridiculous how many times they changed the Diviner covers. Which, by the way, and that's a series I want to get back into, because I really liked it. But like the first book anyway. I only read the first book, and I didn't know how long it would be before the second one came out, so I kind of forgot about it and ended up donating the first book. But another one that I like, another series, but I brought that up because this is a series that has not changed the covers as far as I know, but I really like it. And I really like the covers. The Seven Realms series. I really like these covers because all they have on these covers is a symbol that's something that's probably important to the story and to the plot. With the titles, I like the fancy typography. I like all the border designs, which is, and like I said, it has this symbol on it. I'm guessing this has to be a wizard's amulet. That's a big thing that's introduced in the first book, that wizards have these special amulets. But this kind of reminds me of the ring from Lord of the Rings, the one ring to rule them all. It kind of reminds me of that. And Frodo did so that he wouldn't be, there was a chance he might not be corrupted by the ring or altered by it, so he wore it like a necklace. Which I think that's what, that's also, I think, what Ron does in Harry Potter, because they're trying to find the Horcruxes, and he has to, like, I think, wear it around his neck like a necklace. I don't remember if it's a ring or not. And of course, I just got texted. I mean, I did tell her what time I'd be coming home, so she knew I'd be home. Sophie, just stay here. Sophie, stay. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Sophie. No, you are not. I'm not going to get up and let you out again. So, but I really, again, I like the whole symbol, the object in the cover, the symbol on the cover. I think that's really cool. And I like when books are different color, when books in a... Oh, maybe that was my mom wanting me to know that they were going. So I guess maybe that was my mom. But I also like how in series, even though it doesn't work for a rainbow shelf, if you want to do that, I like how there's a lot of books. Like, I really love how Sarah J. Maas's books, each book in the series is a different color. But, like, I think, but anyway, I gotta read this book, by the way. Another one that does kind of a symbol type, and, okay, I gotta flip the dog over my door again. Well, only since my mom just said that they were going to the driving range because we live on a golf course, I can leave the door open this time. Because no one else is home except for the dogs. And they don't care. But another book that has a symbol, another series that has a symbol that thankfully does not change the covers, is Marissa Meyer's The Lunar Chronicles. And her other one, actually, let me look at that as well. And her other series also does something really cool. Also has the same aesthetic. But I like how her books... Okay, so no, they're not Bible pin pages, I don't think. Sorry, I just think it's so weird that this one looks physically so much smaller than the first book. And I remember that Heather from Bookables was talking about how long this book was, but it doesn't look that long. But anyway, but yeah, she's red and blue. And then she like has the character silhouette. This is because it's not a particular person. I mean, yes, there's a particular look to the characters, but it's not a particular person on the cover. Like, you can't tell. Like, not like with this one. Although, like I said, I think it works with this series, but I like this whole blue and red aesthetic throughout the whole, and she uses it throughout the whole trilogy, because Supernova just came out, I believe. And what I like is the same reason I like well, before I get to that, the other thing I want to say about Marissa Meyer is I like how her sci-fi fairy tale retelling series, each book has a symbol that's a reference to the fairy tale. Like, this one is winter, and it's the Snow White retelling, and of course it has a woman's hand holding literally a shining apple. The shining red apple, and if you know, and I'm sure most people know the story of Snow White, and how the evil queen banished her from the kingdom and sent the huntsman after her, but she escaped, lived with the dwarves, and then when the queen finds out that the huntsman lied to her, she disguised herself as a peddler, and she visits her 3 times. Now, in the Disney movie, she only visits her once. But, the last time she goes to her, she offers her an apple, a poison apple, and with one bite, she falls into a sleeping death. Although I do know that in the original story, what ends up happening is she gets a piece of apple lodged in her throat, which I totally understand. Totally get that. The whole piece of apple skin in between your teeth. Not my throat, but in between my teeth. That is really annoying. And that basically in the original story, what happens is the prince sees her in her coffin that the dwarves put her in because they didn't want to bury her. And he takes her because she's so beautiful and looking like an angel and everything, and she gets jostled a lot, and then basically she's dropped once, and the piece of apple in her throat comes out, and she wakes up, which is like, wow, really? But we know that in the original story, she takes the bite and puts her into a sleep, like a coma. And which I really like learning about the original story. What like I said, was it her 3 times giving? The first one time was a poison coma, and the other time was a poison corset. Which I think that's really cool. But I like how, but all the books, like Cinder has the red shoe on it. Rapunzel has the half of you. There is a real person on there or a drawing or something, but you don't see her face or anything. She's like sitting down, and you can see her arm, but enough so you can see her long braid of hair. And then the Scarlet is a Red Riding Hood retelling, and you basically see a red cape or red shawl floating in midair in that one, which is really cool. And then I believe Stars Above has a crown on it, or a tiara, whatever you want to call it. And the Fairest has the face of a woman with a veil over her face. And that's a novella. That's the story of Queen Lavanna and how she became the evil queen that she is. So I really like that. And what I was going to say about, I went back to that because I'm kind of going into a different topic, different book aesthetic. Is like I said, what I like about, one of the things I really love about this particular trilogy is that it looks like, the cover looks like a comic book, and it is about superheroes. If superheroes were real. And I switched back to another, because I was wanting to talk about Marissa Meyer, finished talking about her, but what I really like is V. Schwab also wrote a superhero type novel, which is this one, Vicious, and I prefer, and actually no, because I think the newer covers, the newer editions do still has the same colorings, and it still looks like a, in fact, it reminds me for V for Vendetta, or like, what's that one? The, Sin City. It kind of makes me think of Sin City, the newer covers. This one also makes me think of comic books, which I think, although I wish she hadn't changed at the last minute, like, changed it when she published the sequel to this series, but, it looks like an actual comic book, like you have, it looks like a drawing of the city, and then you have the main character, who oh my god, I never noticed this, but if you can see his hand, it looks like a skeleton hand. It looks like all bony and stuff. You can see the veins. I never noticed that before. So I can't remember if that's Victor or Eli on the cover. But looks like a city, like a metropolis or Gotham City. And of course, because the author, was when she first published this book, she wanted to differentiate, but she writes both YA/middle school and adult books, so middle grade. Like, she wanted to differentiate between her adult books and then her books for teens and preteens. So she put her initials for her name for her adult book. This is an adult book, as in you have sex in this book, and they say the F word in this book. But I like this. I think that it looks like a comic book, or at least the cartoon, like, based on a comic book. I even want to say it looks like some of the anime a little bit. I mean, I know it's not, because this does not, but just not exactly anime, but a Japanese feel to it, or Asian feel, or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off here, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anime or anything, But if it comes off that way, I'm not trying to. I'm just saying it kind of looks like that. Or not anime, but something along. Like, it's hard to explain, but I really like how it fits the fact that this is a superhero story, and superhero stories originally came from the comic book. They were in comic books. And there's actually one novel that's more, I think, is a more literary story that I have, but I ended up deciding, after looking at reviews on Goodreads and actually reading the reviews, they don't just look at the star rating. I can't remember which booktuber did this, but one of my favorite booktubers did a video on talking about how people sometimes just go, it might have been Elliot Brooks, where they just look at the star rating of a book and they don't read the review. Or she wasn't necessarily doing a discussion, but she mentioned that, how she doesn't like how sometimes people just look at the rating, they don't read the reviews and take the time to figure out. Because sometimes everyone rates books differently. But that one, the one I'm thinking of, I can't remember what it's called, but I got it from the bookstore, because from Given's bookstore / Roast Office bookstore, and it was about these two boys that, this one boy from Lithuania or one of those countries during the 1940s, and him and his family, because he's Jewish, escaped to the U.S., or they send him to the U.S., and he comes to live with his American cousin in New York City. And they start a comic book. And that cover, again, that was another cover that the author did a really good job. The publisher did a really good job at making it look like an old comic book with the cover. It had one of those old, it almost looked like the Hamburglar from the McDonald's Hamburglar. With the black mask, face mask that looks, that's just the eyes part. And it had these bright colors, and it had the cover was separated into I can't think, what's it called? It was separated into there's a word for it, the little blocks that have the illustration and the dialogue or the description. It's gonna pop into my head after I'm done filming this. I guarantee you that. But yeah, I like it when you're writing a story that's kind of comic book inspired, and the publishers make the cover look like a comic book. I like that because it fits what the story's about. That it's based off of a comic book. It's kind of a comic book style story, but it's written with a narrative. It's written like a novel. And that's what both this book by V. Schwab and Marissa Meyer's new series, her second trilogy. And I think she's working on something else, but I haven't heard anything about it lately. But I did hear that she was working on something else. Now, some of the other ones, another type of book that I really like how the cover kind of fits what inspired it, is Washington Black. S.E. Edugyan. I'll have to hear how it's pronounced. But one of the Washington Black, it was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2018. This is one I got from the Roast Office / Gibbons bookstore. And this one is this black slave boy. He gets the chance to accompany his white master on an adventure, and they have a sort of kind of friendship going on, but there's still that whole divide. Again, that's another time. There's a word, I can't think of it, that where one of them is the master and one of them is the slave. There is always that divide between the two of them. But anyway, about the cover, I feel like it was inspired by Jules Verne or some other adventure story, and I don't mean adventure as in Lord of the Rings type adventure, but I mean like a in the real world, but it's like this fantastical, crazy story. again, like Jules Verne. His stories are in the real world, but his characters are going on all these crazy adventures at the center of the earth, traveling around the world in 80 days. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It kind of makes me think of that with this cover. Like some of those old adventure stories. And another example of this that is a book that I used to have, but I ended up giving it away because I didn't think I was going to read it, because the way it's formatted, it's one of those books that was formatted in, like, instead of the traditional paragraphs and chapters and stuff, it's written, like, there are parts of it that were written like a comic, again, like a comic book. And kind of like the Illuminate Files. Kind of like how that was done. And I just don't like stories that where it's written in a way that is not, it doesn't look like, it's not written like a novel. I find it hard to get into because I don't know, it's just pictures. Like, I would never, I like comic books. I'm getting into those, but as of right now, it's just hard for me to read. And maybe one day I'll get the Illuminate Files again. But anyway, but I like this. It looks like, but that particular one I was just thinking of, which is by an author who had the same theme as an actor. Which I don't know if it said that that was the actual actor who wrote it or not, who really did write it, but that one also kind of had an adventure style cover, which I thought was really cool. Like an old 1800s or 1700s adventure stories, and that's when Tarzan. Planet of the Apes, Tarzan, King of the Apes, or whatever. It makes me think of that. That's another example. So I like how the author again chose, and even the color in the cover, like using black and gold coloring, so it looks like an old book. Again, I think that is really cool. And then another one, last year I got really into Sarah Waters. Although I've only read 2 of her books now. I did start Tipping the Velvet earlier this year. But, I really like, although I like Tipping the Velvet because the purplish color of the book, but I like her original covers. The covers of most of her books. And I think Tipping the Velvet does have a cover like this. It's just, I guess they republished it. And they published it also in that style too. I don't know if her other books have that style, like a pastel color. But I really like the author's name and then the title. The typography is really interesting. I like that it's just black. It's all black with a picture of whatever the story is about. Like, this one is a house that is supposedly haunted. The Paying Guest. I can't remember what was on that one. Let me see if there's a picture in here of that book. Because I would get up, but I'm lazy. It's like over there, and I've already constantly had to get up, and I can't find, I don't know where it is, but, I remember, I think it was 2 women on there. 2 women embracing or something. Which, it's about 2 women who find love. And of course, it's the 1920s, so not only the fact that the one woman is married, but also the fact that there are 2 women having an affair. And unfortunately, it was even worse back then. The bigotry was even worse than it is today. Because at least today, society accepts people that are attracted to the same sex. But yeah, I like the simpleness of the cover. Like I said, the Tipping the Velvet, my edition of Tipping the Velvet that I like is very nice. The problem, and again, I bought it at the roast office because there's no, you don't know what book you're going to come across. What edition of a book you're going to come across at a used bookstore. So I take what I can get, and I try to settle for the paperbacks because they are cheaper. But that's how it always is. Another one, I really like the covers. that's more simple. That unfortunately they started changing them, but I mean, in this case, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world because they're not. This is not a series of books. They're all standalone books by this author. But the covers of Kate Morden's books are really very pretty. They're pastel colors, very picturesque settings on there. And then there's also, I like the writing. I don't know what this is, the typography. I don't know what this is. I have to look it up, but I really like it. And I like how this kind of has the border at the top of each of her books. I'm so glad that I was able to buy all these copies of the same book. The same editions of all her books. With the exception of, unfortunately, there's really no exception because all the books I bought from her thing are all the same. The only one that's different is the new one, which I bought at BAM, and that is, actually, the Lighthouse is different too. It's more a photographic. The Lighthouse cover. And then the next one, Kate Morden's the Clockmaker's Daughter has a black silhouette, and instead of the pastel colors, it has these really bright colors. The silhouette of a woman. So it's different, unfortunately. They don't have. Although I think I did. Well, no, because the other edition of the cover is a clock face, which that's the one I really wanted. But it was hardback when I saw it at the bookstore. And like I said, I always try to aim for the paperbacks. Because paperbacks are, easier to travel with. They're a little bit cheaper. Especially mass market paperbacks. So, I really like her covers. The covers of her books. And also have what I really like is I love what they do with Gregory Maguire's covers. They always have this for especially both the paperback and hardback. I wonder if this was a library book. They just didn't have the little thing in the. Which, Gregory Maguire reminds me. He reminds me of that. There's an actor he reminds me of. I can't think of his name. But what I like about when they publish his books, they always have a regular, with the dust jacket, and in the dust jacket there's a hole in the dust jacket which has something sticking out of it, like a person's face, or some kind of object or something. Definitely one of his. Lost also does this. His book Lost. Which both of these I'm gonna read next month, by the way. These are books I'm taking out for next month. And then when you open it, when you take the dust jacket off with the hardback ones, and you have this. Which is really. Now of course you don't have to worry with the dust jacket with his paperbacks, but I think this is really cool that you still have a cover image on the blank on the naked hardback. Which I really like. I find that I actually kind of like those the hardbacks or the naked hardbacks. And what I really like is this also has deckled edges. I'm one of those weirdos who likes deckled edges. But I think it's really cool that all his books have this. And then, I'll show you Lost. This must have been a library book originally. And then Lost has, you have this, and then you open it, and you have this. It's the same idea, except for it's not the it's not a hard book. It's a paperback. And it's not a dust jacket. I can tell I've read this book for a long time. And what's really cool about this one, which makes me really excited about this one, is it kind of combines Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol with the whole myth or legend or whatever you want to call it, the whole Jack the Ripper. It has that part. It has that. It's kind of that combined together, which is really cool. But I definitely won because of the Charles Dickens thing. This is one of the ones I'm going to read for Christmas, along with the Hindsight, which is a Nutcracker retelling, or the origin story of the Nutcracker. It seems kind of creepy because it's like maybe the guy got turned from. I'm wondering if like the guy got turned into a Nutcracker or something. I don't know, but and then I like the idea of collecting these. These are really cheap. I just think if you go to the clearance section, you can find these. These of classics. And I like how, again, it just has, again, I love the typography. And I really love this, that we have this image on the bottom, this photo or whatever, this, I think that's really cool. And then the closest next thing I have is to a paperback equivalent to that is this one. This Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because these two books I almost bought both these books at the same time, but then I had to narrow it down because there were some other classics. And I've been getting a lot the last two visits to Books A Million were buying classics, because even the Roast Office does not have a huge selection of classics. It has a lot of mystery, mostly mystery actually. A lot of that. I mean, it has a lot of literary stuff like regular fiction, but it has a lot of mystery. I guess because older people really like mysteries. But yeah, I like these because I like the colorful covers. Like it's really cool that these bright covers, like with I think that's really appealing. You know, it's still dark, because this is a horror story. This is the main story in this collection, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like the what's the actual? It doesn't have the actual title, the whole title. Where's the whole title? It's gonna have the whole title, because I know it's not just Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is one that everyone calls it. Oh, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's what it's called. It has that in here. I wonder if like this one, these are short stories or novellas. I wanted to get the Jane Eyre version of this, as well, but it was like I had to narrow it down. So I try to always narrow down, not buy too many things, especially because Christmas is coming up. So I need to start thinking about buying for other people. I did buy one Christmas gift for someone yesterday, and then I'm gonna buy the other things I want to get her once the month gets closer. But good news is now I know she watches my videos. So I'm not gonna accidentally let it slip and reveal what I got her. Although she'll have some idea, because I mean, again, both she and I have basically just given each other a list. Because as much as I on the one hand I like surprising people, and I like people who know. Part of me is like thinking, you should know me. I want someone that knows me so well that I don't have to give them a list of what I want. But at the end of the day, that's never gonna happen. I mean, maybe if I find love and romance, maybe my future husband will know me that well that they won't have to. I mean, and maybe actually that makes sense, because with your parents, you're not necessarily around them 24/7. They don't see your domain that often. So And when you're with someone that becomes either your boyfriend, girlfriend, your spouse, they're with you almost all the time. So whenever you go like shopping or something, unless you decide to go shopping with a friend, they're with you. So it makes sense that your significant other might know you just a little bit better than like your friends or your parents or your sibling, because they end up being with you almost 24/7, unless you break up. But I really like this. I like and it kind of looks, and in this case, but yeah, see, it kind of, I think well, they might be a little different, because this is the Lifetime Library. I don't know what this, I almost bought, though, the same copy of the same edition for this collection, but because I was buying 2 other books and something else for the other person, I decided to put it back and get something else. I decided to get a cheaper edition of it. But I almost bought the Lifetime Library copy of it. I don't know what these editions are called. It must be, maybe it's in the book. Well, it says the publishing company. Arcturus Publishing Limited. So, but I really like them. I hope they continue publishing more of these. I would love to get like the Jane Eyre version of it. But enough talking about that. Okay, so these last 3 I want to show you are a little closer to being some of my favorite editions of my books. First, this is another one I got from the Roast Office. And I really love this edition because it looks like an older book. It might actually be an old book, an old edition, but this is Vanity Fair by W.M. Thackeray. I don't know, but I just learned recently that this is actually like the English version, or the English/British version of Gone with the Wind, which I think that's really, like, it's very, I guess, like, Scarlett, what is her name? I've heard her name quite a few times. Becky Sharp is like Scarlett O'Hara in the way, and, like, it's I don't know if it's, or this, Gone with the Wind might be a retelling of this one, but one of them is a retelling of the other one, which I think is really cool. But this actually looks like there's not much, there's like barely anything on the cover except for the title. It's just the solid blue cover. It's another one of those books that is red on the top, on the pages. And then it's really, the inside is kind of cool. It's really pretty. Has a pretty design on it. And then you can tell it's gonna, if I'm not careful, I could rip it a little bit. And then this is a perfect example of, I don't know, but I'm obsessed. I absolutely love Bible thin pages. I don't know why. I guess because, again, it's another thing where I really like things that are older looking. So Bible thin pages are an older style of pages. I really like that. The feel of those and going through them. And it's kind of funny, like, all the classics, the first couple chapters are actually really short. It's kind of interesting. But at least I really like, and the pages are yellow, so you could tell this is an older book. But again, I just love Bible thin pages for some reason. And I have another example of that, and that is my copy of Anna Karenina, a small copy. I get it in Bible thin pages. And this is a paperback, it's not a hardback like Vanity Fair. It's a Penguin's Classics edition. And it's translated. Ooh, that reminds me, I gotta look up. Because I've heard there is one translation that's, and I think it's a female translator, but I don't know her name, that says the translation is a little hard to read. I hope this is not her, because I really like the look of this edition. I mean, it won't prevent me from reading it, of course, but still, it will be in the back of my mind if this is that edition. I'll be nervous about reading it. But this is a Penguin Classics, and like, Penguin is probably one of the biggest publishers of classics, of classic novels. Like, there are so many, like, different Penguin and Penguin editions. Oh, Pierre Dardin. I wonder if maybe this is the owner, and the original owner, maybe he was French. And this is actually this edition, I've kept this. This is a, kind of, like a description of what the book is, and like saying how it's the better novel compared to War and Peace. I don't know if I agree with that or not. I probably won't, because I'm one of those people who, but, I thought I've kept this in there. And I like how it has this stamp on it. Which is kind of interesting that this, they're really, again, Bible-thin pages. I might have to still be careful. And they're yellow pages too, so it's an older book. And the last is one that I just bought. I had bought, along with that, this last one is one I bought yesterday, along with the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde book, and this book as well. This is not the one I wanted, but it was the one that's a little cheaper. So, I mean, that's funny. Like, my mom worries about me buying too many books, but I do seek out the cheaper edition. I always try to buy a cheaper edition if it has multiple editions. Like, I always buy if the paperback is out, even if the paperback and hardback are presented to me, my first instinct is to buy the paperback because it's cheaper. But so Mom will be glad to know that. But this is an author I just discovered. I got a collection of her novels, her novellas, and one of them I'd already read in either college or high school, so I was already familiar with it. And that was Edith Wharton is the author, and it's Ethan Frome was the one. And the first time I read, I did not care about it. It was kind of boring to me. But then reading the second time, I did like it a little bit better. It's still not my favorite. In fact, I think I kind of prefer Summer over Ethan Frome. But so far, I've really liked either way. I liked all three of her books, her little novellas. But it was a lot. It was a whole collection, so it was a long book. So I was like, you know what? If I ever see them at a store or something, then I will buy it. So I had bought at her, which I believe you guys have already seen this. I bought this one, which is a collection of the last 4 novels in that particular collection. And I decided not to buy the first 3, because I had seen the first 3 novellas at the roast office, but I ended up not buying them, because I was kind of in the middle of summer anyway, so, although I wonder if maybe I should have. But this one, actually, the cover that they use on this one, the photo, is actually one that they use for Ibsen's collection of 4 great plays that I bought. So I thought that was kind of funny. They used the same cover, which I'm wondering if that. I mean, I guess because of all the. Oh, I like the print of this one. Because I mean, yes, I love the appeal of that collection did actually have those Bible thin pages that I did really like, and it had the ribbon bookmark. But I gotta admit, I like how this one has the bold print. I appreciate the bold print. So you can easily see it. It's not too hard to read. Let me show you. If you can see it, it's easy to read. But I ended up buying that. So I show you that because this is the third and final book that I bought at Gibbons. Was I looked for Edith Wharton, and I came across I saw one of her novellas, not one of those in that collection, I don't think. Either Ethan Frome or Summer I saw, but then I also saw this one. And this is actually I was looking for, not this particular, but one of her. I know that she's, at least I'm familiar with two novels by her. This one, Age of Innocence, and then there's another one, House of Mirth. I was kind of setting out to look for that one, but I did not see that one, but I did see this one. And I picked this one up immediately because of this cover. It's really not just the cover, it's the whole book itself. These editions I really like these editions. Just like I like these ones, so like these ones. I think this is really cool. I can't describe, like, I guess it's a rubber kind of covering with, it has quotes from the novel. Like on here in the back. In reality, they all lived in a kind of hieroglyphic world where the real thing was never said or done or even thought, but only represented by a set of arbitrary signs. And it seems stupid to have discovered America only to make it into a copy of another country. People cling to any convention that keeps the family together. If we don't all stand together, there'll be no such thing as society left. We can't behave like people in novels, though, can we? No, though, can we? And I think Archer is the person who says the quote. Real people were living somewhere and real things happening to them. I think that's May, the character May, I'm guessing. Untrained human nature was not frank and innocent. It was full of twist and defensive and instinctive guile. I don't know, I guess Ellen? I don't know. She's the one who said that. It is confoundedly dull, anyhow. New York is dying of dullness. That's kind of funny. There had never been a breath on her reputation. Each time you happen to be all over again. I really like this, and I love the purple. I like it. And then inside, it's purple flowers, like roses. I think that's really cool. In the covers. Word Cloud Classics. I guess that's what these are called. World or Canterbury Classics. Or are these called Canterbury Classics? So I don't know which one. Maybe it has two names. I like how all these are the bright colors. The quotes from the novels or the author. I also really like the one I brought from the library by some Canary Row. I liked that because I guess they have these. There's a publishing company who publishes editions for classics they will have the initial of the author's name on the cover, and it will be some kind of color. And it's and there's like some kind of symbol on the cover that represents what the book is about or something. I also really like that too. I'd love to get more of these, but I always feel guilty for asking for particular editions. Because some cost money. I mean, I don't want to be someone who, especially if I'm not buying them myself. Although, I think the only time I ever really asked for a specific edition of a book is when I asked for those Barnes and Noble ones. But yeah, I like these. I think they're really cool. So those are some editions or covers of books that I really like, that I really enjoy. Like I said, I try not to buy books just because of a certain like a certain edition or because of a cover. I always try not to do that because, you know, I'm not rich. I'm not made of money, so I don't want to spend, I mean, I'm already not cautious enough because, although it's funny though, my parents are always lecturing, and I guess because they're worried about me. I'm their daughter. They are worried about what's going to happen in the future when, when they're gone and I'm taking care of myself. They're worried about my spending, which, yeah, it's understandable, and it shows that they care about me. And so, but the funny thing is, even though, my parents say, you're addicted to buying books, I'm not saying they're wrong, unfortunately, but it's just funny because, I watch booktubers who have so much more than me and will buy, like, multiple editions of the same book. Even, like, I can't think of her name. I just started watching her again. It's Emma something, but she is a huge fan of Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunter series, and she has bought multiple foreign language editions. And I just can't see myself doing that because I will probably not put in the effort to actually learn the language. Because, already learning is sometimes harder for me than most people anyway. So, but I'm not going to take the time to learn a language just so I can have that edition of a book. I mean, it's cool and it's very impressive, especially if she puts in the effort to learn the language so she can read the book in that language. And it's also kind of cool when someone is raised in an English-speaking environment, but they're part of another country, like they're part German or part Chinese or part, like, Russian or something, and they actually try to learn that language, because it is technically part of them, so they put in the effort to learn that language. I mean, it is very impressive. I think it's really cool, and I think you do you. If you want to buy multiple editions of a book, I just can't see myself doing that. I mean, maybe, when I'm not having to answer to my parents and I'm just living on my own and I only have to worry about me completely, and I don't have them, making me feel guilty if I splurge. Sorry, my throat's, I got a tickle in my throat now from all the talking. Then maybe I might get a little, but I probably will have my voice in the back of my head telling me I shouldn't be spending all that money on a book. Even if it's a book, books, at least it's not a car or like a video game or something. But, I hope you liked this video and weren't bored by it and found it interesting. If you guys have any editions of your favorite books, or like editions of classics, a lot, like most of these were classics. If you have any of those, I love to hear about them. I mean, I don't know if you can upload pictures onto your videos, like post pictures, but if you can, that'd be really cool too. Would love to see the actual, like, book. But anyway, if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you have not already subscribed to my channel and you like my channel and you like what you see on my channel so far. I hope you're enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you later. Alright, bye!